All right, welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into one of the most popular self-help books of all time.
Yep.
Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And, I think we all kind of, in some way, are looking for that extra edge in life.
Absolutely.
Whether it's at work, in our relationships, or just feeling like we're, really mastering this whole being a human thing.
Right.
So this book really digs into those timeless principles that can help you kind of level up in all those areas.
And I think one of the things that makes it so powerful is it really starts with the foundation.
Yeah.
Like it goes all the way back to, how we see the world.
That's the paradigm.
Yeah, the paradigms.
Yeah.
And he uses this really interesting example of that classic optical illusion.
Oh, I love that one.
The one where you can see either the old woman or the young woman,
Yeah.
And it's the same image, but depending on your perspective, depending on your paradigm, you see something totally different.
It's amazing, like, how two people can be looking at the exact same information, the exact same reality,
Right.
and have completely different experiences.
Absolutely.
So if our paradigms are kind of like the lens we're seeing the world through, how do we even begin to shift them? Like, they seem so ingrained, right?
Well, that's a huge part of the book, and he really argues that recognizing them is the first step.
Okay.
And then he talks about this contrast between what he calls the character ethic and the personality ethic.
Okay, I've heard of this.
And it's, like one focuses on those deeper principles.
Like integrity, honesty, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And the other is more about techniques.
Like kind of quick fixes.
Yeah, surface level stuff.
Okay.
And so he's arguing that, real effectiveness comes from that deeper level, the character ethic.
So it's about building that strong inner foundation first.
Exactly.
Which leads perfectly to that first habit, be proactive. Now, this isn't just about, like, taking initiative, right? This goes way deeper.
It definitely does.
He tells the story of Viktor Frankl.
Oh, powerful story.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
The psychiatrist who endured the horrors of the Nazi concentration camps.
Right.
And even in that situation, he found that he still had the power to choose his response.
And that's really what Covey is getting at with this idea of proactivity.
Yeah.
It's that there's this space between what happens to us, the stimulus, and how we respond to it.
And that's where our power lies.
Exactly.
And it's so easy to feel like we're just victims of our circumstances.
Right.
But Frankl's story, and really Covey's message, is that we always have a choice.
Always a choice.
Yeah. In how we react.
And even our language can reflect that.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Yeah. So, how often do we say things like, I have to do this, or I have to go there?
All the time.
Yeah. And by simply shifting that language to, I choose to.
I choose to.
It completely changes our mindset.
It's like taking ownership.
Yeah. You go from feeling trapped to feeling empowered.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And I love how he then introduces that idea of the circles of concern and influence.
Oh, yeah. Such a visual way to think about it.
So we have this big circle of concern, right? It's everything we might worry about.
From global issues to personal drama.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
And then within that, there's our circle of influence.
The things we can actually do something about.
And so proactive people focus on what?
Expanding that circle of influence.
Right. Instead of getting bogged down by all that stuff they can't control.
It's so easy to get caught up in that worry, in that circle of concern.
Totally. So it's about taking responsibility for what you can change and letting go of the rest.
That's a really liberating concept.
Absolutely. But, knowing we have that power to choose is one thing. But then figuring out, okay, where do I even direct that power?
Right. What's my compass?
Yeah, like what's my North Star? That's where habit 2 comes in. Begin with the end in mind.
And this one really gets you thinking long term.
Yeah, it does. He even suggests visualizing your own funeral.
Oh, I remember that. A little morbid, but effective.
I know. It's like, okay, what do I want people to say about me? What kind of legacy do I want to leave?
It forces you to really confront your values.
And he tells the story of this top executive who was like super successful on paper.
Oh, yeah. Had it all, right?
But was deeply unhappy.
Yeah. Classic example of climbing the wrong ladder.
Right. And when he really took the time to define his values and what he truly wanted, he was able to make some major changes.
Yeah. Course correction.
That led to way more fulfillment.
It's a good reminder that we need to define our own destination.
Yes, not just follow someone else's path.
And then there's this idea of creating things twice.
What does that mean?
So first you create it in your mind, you have the vision,
Okay.
and then you create it in reality.
Oh, so it's about that power of planning, having that clear picture before you start taking action.
Exactly.
And I think that ties in really nicely with his distinction between leadership in management.
Oh, yeah, good point.
So leadership is about defining the right direction.
Setting that vision,
And management is about effectively executing on that vision.
making it happen.
So even if you're not, in a leadership role at work or whatever,
Right.
that idea of beginning with the end in mind is super powerful.
Absolutely, in any area of your life.
Okay, so we're being proactive. We've got that clear vision now. How do we make it all happen, especially when life gets crazy and things get busy?
Well, that's where habit 3 comes in. Put first things first.
Ooh, time management. I need help with this one.
But it's not just about time management. It's really about priority management.
Okay, what's the difference?
So to understand this, we have to dive into Covey's time management matrix.
Oh yeah, I've heard of this.
He breaks it down to 4 quadrants: urgent important, not urgent important, urgent not important, and not urgent not important.
Okay, so it's like categorizing all the things we do.
Exactly. And what's really interesting here is that he emphasizes the importance of that second quadrant.
Not urgent, but
Yes. Because those are the things that contribute to our long-term goals, but they don't have that immediate pressure of urgency.
oh, I see what you mean.
So things like planning, building relationships, personal development, they're easy to put off because they don't feel urgent in the moment.
But they're crucial.
Absolutely.
So how do we actually find the time for those when we're constantly, like, putting out fires?
It's a real challenge. It requires a shift in mindset.
Like being proactive about our priorities.
Yes. Making a conscious decision to carve out time for those quadrant 2 activities.
So it's not just about being efficient with our time.
No.
It's about being effective, making sure we're spending our time on the things that actually matter.
That align with that vision we defined in habit 2.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these all connect. So we've mastered ourselves, we're proactive, we're focused, we're prioritizing like pros,
Right.
but we don't live in a vacuum.
Right, definitely not.
We're constantly interacting with others. So how do we take these principles, these first 3 habits, and apply them to our relationships?
Well, that's where the next 3 habits come in. He calls them the habits of interdependence.
Okay.
And they really build on that foundation of the first 3, taking us from individual effectiveness to success together.
Collective success. I like that.
Yeah.
And it all starts with this brilliant metaphor, the emotional bank account.
Oh, this is such a great one.
Tell me more about this one.
So it's basically like a financial bank account.
Okay.
But instead of money, we're talking about trust
Trust.
and goodwill in our relationships.
Okay.
So every interaction we have is either a deposit or a withdrawal.
I like that analogy.
Acts of kindness, being considerate, keeping commitments, those are all deposits.
Makes sense.
But then, disrespect, breaking promises, those are withdrawals.
So it's like we're constantly either building trust or eroding it
Exactly.
with every interaction.
And Covey really emphasizes how important it is to have a high balance in that emotional bank account.
For healthy relationships.
Yeah, because when there's trust, communication flows more easily, collaboration happens more naturally. It creates a much more positive dynamic.
I can already see how those first 3 habits, like being proactive, having that clear vision, prioritizing effectively, how that all contributes to having that strong emotional bank account.
Absolutely. It lays the groundwork.
Okay, feeling good about this framework. So where do we go from here?
Well, that leads us right into habit 4, which is all about finding those win-win solutions.
All right, we'll pick it up there in part 2. Okay, so we're back and we're diving into habit 4, think win-win. Now, I got to be honest, sometimes this one feels a little idealistic to me.
Yeah, I get it.
Like, isn't compromise just, a part of life?
Well, and Covey actually addresses that directly.
Okay.
He says that compromise often leaves both parties feeling kind of dissatisfied.
Yeah, no one's really happy.
Right. You just settle.
Yeah.
But win-win is about finding solutions where everyone benefits.
So it's about expanding the pie, so to speak.
Exactly. Moving beyond that fixed pie mentality.
Okay, I like that
Yeah.
abundance mindset.
Yeah.
But how do we actually, put that into practice? Especially when, people have conflicting interests.
It's definitely a challenge, but Covey gives this really interesting example
I love the stories.
about a company that was struggling to fill their management trainee positions.
Okay.
And they had this fantastic 6-month training program, but the executives were hesitant to actually promote the trainees afterwards
Why?
because they felt like they lacked experience.
So it's like a catch-22.
Exactly. Great training, but no opportunity to, actually apply it.
So how did they get past that?
They applied the win-win principle.
Okay, tell me more.
So they worked with the executives to clearly defined the skills and knowledge required for those assistant branch manager roles. And then they restructured the training program so that those specific competencies were covered before graduation.
So the trainees were coming out like ready to hit the ground running.
Exactly. They were undeniably qualified.
So the executives had no excuse not to promote them.
Right. And as a result, everyone won.
The executives got competent managers, the trainees got the promotions. That's brilliant.
It shows how, like, creative problem solving can lead to those win-win outcomes.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got that strong emotional bank account. We're thinking win-win. But how do we make sure we're really understanding the other person's perspective, like really getting where they're coming from?
That's where habit 5 comes in. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Oh, I love this one. This is all about empathic listening, right?
Yes. Covey uses this great analogy. Imagine going to an optometrist who tries to fit you with glasses without even, like, examining your eyes.
Oh, that's a terrible optometrist.
Right. They just assume they know what you need based on their own experience.
And that's what we do in conversations sometimes.
All the time. We jump in with advice or solutions before we've truly understood the other person's perspective.
Yeah, we listen to respond, not to actually understand.
Exactly. And Covey talks about these autobiographical responses.
What does that mean?
So it's like advising, probing, evaluating. Those are all ways of, like, inserting our own experiences into the conversation.
Instead of just being present with what the other person's saying.
Right. And he encourages us to listen with empathy.
To really see the world through their eyes.
So walk in their shoes.
Okay, so it's not just hearing their words, it's understanding the feelings and needs behind those words.
Exactly. It's a deeper level of listening.
But how do we actually become better empathic listeners? That feels like really challenging.
It is a skill that takes practice.
Yeah.
But Covey offers some practical techniques.
Okay.
One is to focus on reflecting back not just the content of what they're saying, but also their feelings.
Okay, so like instead of saying, oh, don't worry about that presentation, you'll do great. You might say something like, I can hear that you're feeling anxious about this presentation. What specifically is making you feel that way?
Exactly. It shows you're truly listening and trying to understand their experience.
And sometimes just like feeling heard and understood is all someone needs.
It can be incredibly powerful.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're building trust. We're seeking win-win solutions. We're practicing empathic listening.
Laying the groundwork.
How do we then take all of this and like create something truly remarkable?
That brings us to habit 6, synergize.
Ooh, synergy. I love that word.
It's all about the magic that happens when we combine our unique strengths and perspectives.
And create something bigger than ourselves?
Exactly. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
I love that. And Covey uses the example of the development of the United States Constitution.
Oh, wow. That's a big one.
Yeah, so you have all these founding fathers with wildly different viewpoints, different philosophies, but they were able to come together, respect each other's perspectives, and create something truly remarkable.
And that document has like stood the test of time.
It's a testament to the power of synergy.
It's incredible to think about what we can accomplish when we like tap into that collective genius.
Yeah, when we move beyond our individual limitations.
But creating that synergy requires a certain level of trust and vulnerability, right?
Absolutely. You have to be willing to let go of your ego, be open to different ideas, and even, like, embrace constructive conflict.
Yeah, because conflict can be a good thing if it's handled well.
Exactly. And Covey points out that synergy doesn't just have to happen in, like, group settings.
Oh, interesting.
It can happen on a one-on-one level, too.
Okay, can you give an example of that?
Yeah, he shares a story about a couple he worked with who were struggling to communicate.
Okay.
The husband was very logical and analytical,
Okay.
and the wife was more intuitive and emotional.
Ah, so their communication styles were clashing.
Big time. And it was creating a lot of friction in their relationship.
So how did they overcome that?
Covey helped them to understand and appreciate their different strengths.
Okay.
He encouraged them to listen to each other with empathy, validate each other's feelings, and to seek solutions that honored both of their needs.
So instead of seeing their differences as a problem, they learned to see them as an asset.
Exactly. And it transformed their relationship.
It's beautiful how synergy can work on so many different levels.
It's a powerful principle.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about being proactive, defining our vision, prioritizing effectively, building strong relationships, and creating synergy.
It's a lot.
But at some point, don't we also need to, like, step back and recharge?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's where habit 7 comes in. Sharpen the saw.
Oh, yeah. Self-care. This is so important.
It's all about renewal, taking care of our physical, spiritual, mental, and social emotional well-being.
And Covey emphasizes that this isn't selfish.
No, not at all.
It's about investing in ourselves so we can continue to show up fully in all areas of our lives.
Exactly. It's like you can't pour from an empty cup.
I love that
You
analogy.
have to take care of yourself first.
But with life being so demanding, like, how do we even find the time for all of that?
It's a challenge, for sure.
Yeah.
But Covey breaks it down into those 4 key areas.
Physical, spiritual, mental, and social emotional.
Right. And he encourages us to, like, find what works best for us in each dimension.
And, like, create those daily rituals that replenish our energy.
Exactly. So on the physical side, it might be committing to a daily walk, eating healthy foods, getting enough sleep.
Okay, makes sense.
On the spiritual side, it could be spending time in nature, meditating, connecting with your faith.
And on the mental side, it could be reading, learning a new skill, being creative.
Right. And for the social emotional, it's about nurturing our relationships, spending time with loved ones, contributing to our communities.
So finding ways to connect and give back.
Exactly.
And Covey tells this really interesting story about a time when he was feeling totally burnt out and disconnected from his, like, spiritual core.
Oh, yeah, I remember this one.
And a doctor he was working with gave him this, like, unusual prescription.
What was it?
Spend a day in the place where you felt happiest as a child.
I love that.
It's so interesting. So where did he end up going?
He ended up spending the day at the beach, just like reminiscing about his childhood memories.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
And in doing so, he realized that, like, his deepest sense of happiness came from serving others.
Wow, so it was like a realignment of his values.
Exactly. A powerful spiritual renewal.
Sometimes we need to, like, step away from the everyday hustle and reconnect with what truly matters.
It's so important to create that space for reflection.
Okay, so we've explored all 7 habits.
We've done it.
I'm feeling super inspired,
Me too.
but I also have to admit, it feels a little overwhelming.
It's a lot to take in.
Like, where do we even begin to apply all of this?
And Covey actually talks about that.
Okay, good.
He says it's not about trying to, like, master all 7 habits overnight.
Yeah, that would be impossible.
Right. It's about choosing 1 or 2 to focus on
Okay.
and gradually integrating them into your life.
So it's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And remembering that this is a lifelong journey.
Not a destination.
Right. It's about continuously learning, growing, and striving to become the best versions of ourselves.
And what I love about the 7 habits is that it's not just about, achieving external success.
No, it's deeper than that.
It's about creating a life of meaning.
Purpose, connection.
Yeah, all of that good stuff.
It's holistic.
All right, well, we've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive, but before we wrap up, I'm curious to hear your final thoughts.
Okay.
What's, like, the most important takeaway you hope our listeners will walk away with today? What's, like, the most important takeaway you hope our listeners will walk away with today?
That's a great question, I think, if I had to pick just one.
Yeah.
It's that real power comes from shifting from dependence to interdependence.
Ooh, I like it.
It's about recognizing that, we're all connected and that our greatest potential lies in working together.
Collaborating.
Yes.
Creating synergy.
So it's not just about, achieving personal success.
Right.
It's about creating something bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. It's about making a positive impact on the world around us.
Lifting each other up.
Exactly.
And that journey starts where?
From the inside out.
From the inside out, okay?
As we embrace these 7 habits,
Yeah.
we become more self-aware,
Yeah.
we strengthen our character,
Yeah.
and we develop those skills necessary to build those meaningful relationships.
So it's about being proactive, right? Defining our values.
Yep.
And then aligning our actions with those principles.
Absolutely. Shifting our paradigms from scarcity to abundance.
Embracing that win-win.
Win-win, yeah.
But it's not about reaching some, like, perfect state of being, right?
No, definitely not.
It's an ongoing process.
It is. It's a journey.
Of learning and growth.
Always evolving.
And that's what makes it exciting, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. But, with all this talk about interdependence and collaboration.
I'm curious, what about those times when we need to, like, set boundaries?
Oh, that's a really important point.
Or prioritize our own needs?
Yeah.
Like, how do we balance, self-care with the needs of others.
Because that's crucial too.
Yeah.
And Covey actually talks about that.
Oh, good.
He says that healthy interdependence requires a strong foundation of independence.
Okay, so we need to be secure in ourselves first.
Exactly. You have to know your own values
Yeah.
in order to effectively connect with others.
So it's not about like becoming selfless or sacrificing our own well-being.
No, it's about finding that balance.
Yeah, that sweet spot.
Where you can care for yourself and contribute to others.
And sometimes that means saying no,
Yes.
setting those boundaries,
Absolutely.
taking time for ourselves.
Remember habit 7.
Sharpen the saw
It's essential
to replenish our energy,
so we can give to others from a place of fullness.
not depletion.
Exactly.
That's so important.
It is.
All right, well, as we wrap up our deep dive into the 7 habits, what's one question you would encourage our listeners to reflect on?
That's a good one. I think a powerful question is,
Yeah.
which of these 7 habits resonates most deeply with you right now?
Okay.
And what's one small step you can take, maybe even today,
Yeah.
to start integrating that habit into your life?
It doesn't have to be anything huge.
No, just a small, intentional action.
Because those small actions can lead to big changes.
They can create a ripple effect.
Love that. And remember, everyone, this deep dive is just the beginning.
Yeah, the real work starts now.
It's about taking these principles and applying them.
In your daily life?
Yeah, go out there, embrace the 7 habits.
Make them your own.
And start creating your own masterpiece.
Of effectiveness.
All right, until next time, everyone, keep diving deep.